I was afraid of dogs for most of my life. Not a little wary, afraid. When I was a child in Manila, a street dog chased me on 2 separate occasions, and something lodged itself in my body that didn't leave for decades. So when we brought Roscoe home, I want you to understand what it cost me to do that. I wasn't walking in with natural ease or instinct. I was walking in with a stack of internet articles, a couple of training manuals, and the specific determination of someone who has decided to do the thing they are afraid of because they love their kid. We adopted Roscoe before he was 20 weeks old. He was sick when we brought him home, restless, weak. He slept a lot, but not well. He startled at sounds. He couldn't quite settle, couldn't find the comfortable position, couldn't quite let go. I didn't know what I was looking at. I was a first-time dog guardian, scared of dogs, trying to do right by one. I thought, this is just what puppies are like. I thought, once he's better, this will all make more sense. I wasn't wrong exactly, but I wasn't looking at the right things either. This is Under the Same Roof. I'm Jennyfer Tan, professional dog trainer and certified family dog mediator, and this is episode 9. Season 2 is about what happens after the seeing. After you've built the framework, understood the nervous systems, learned to read what's actually happening. Season 1 was about that. This season is about the gap between insight and Tuesday, between understanding and actually living inside it, day by day. And where better to start than the very beginning, the first days and weeks, when your dog and your neurodivergent child are figuring each other out and nobody is arriving with a roadmap. My son was 17 when Roscoe arrived. My daughter was 10. They responded to him the way 2 people can respond to the exact same thing and have completely different experiences of it. My daughter was pure joy from the first day. She'd come home from school and go straight to the dog. Not to check on him, just to be with him, to play, to let her afternoon unspool in the best possible way. For her, Roscoe was uncomplicated. He was a playmate, a reason to rush home, a happiness that didn't ask anything difficult of her. That bond formed fast and easily, the way some bonds do, when there's no friction, no mismatch, nothing that needs to be figured out first. My son was different. He was happy, genuinely, visibly happy, that we had a new member of the family, but he needed a warm-up. He always needs a warm-up. He watched from a comfortable distance while Roscoe was sick, close enough to register the puppy's presence, far enough to stay on his own terms. When he did engage, it looked like entertainment more than connection. He'd get out a toy and play with Roscoe for a while, and then when he was done, he was done. He'd put the toy down and go back to his room. No lingering, no relationship yet, just 2 separate beings who happened to be in the same apartment. And my husband. This is the part I didn't fully appreciate until later. While Roscoe was still sick and quiet and not yet the force of nature he was about to become, my husband was the one sitting with him, on the couch, watching television, the 2 of them in an accidental, unplanned ease with each other that nobody had designed. He got the calm version first, by circumstance, and that bond was laid down quietly, before any of the chaos arrived. I was tracking my son through all of this, watching my daughter's delight, and mostly, I was managing, trying to do it right, trying to make things work. It didn't occur to me yet that I should be watching Roscoe. Once Roscoe recovered, he became a completely different animal. The weakness lifted, and what replaced it was energy with no governor. He was everywhere. He ate socks. He ate slippers. He ate things that were not food, with the focused enthusiasm of someone who has just discovered the concept of eating. He moved through our condo like a small force of nature, bouncing off one thing and redirecting immediately to the next, never quite landing, never quite still. My son didn't know what to do with this. Neither did I. His response was what I'd describe as happy and scared at the same time. The puppy delighted him. The puppy overwhelmed him. Both of those things were true simultaneously, and he had no framework for what to do with the overlap. So mostly he'd engage for a while and then retreat. Engage and retreat. Like someone testing water temperature by dipping one foot in and then pulling it back. I was so focused on tracking my son through this that I almost entirely missed what was happening on Roscoe's side. Here is what I know now that I didn't know then. Roscoe was doing the same thing, not in an obvious way, not in a way that would have been easy for a first-time dog guardian who was afraid of dogs to read. But he was engaging and retreating in his own pattern, moving toward things and pulling back, looking for somewhere to land. And when he couldn't find it, the energy had nowhere to go but outward. I was reading everything I could find on puppy training. I was focused on commands, on getting Roscoe to behave in the ways the manuals described. I had decided, without quite realizing it, that the dog in front of me was a variable to be managed, rather than a being to be understood. A few months in, something shifted. I noticed that Roscoe couldn't nap without being disturbed. Any sound, any movement in the apartment, and he'd surface. Not just stir, come fully alert, scanning. I started putting a blanket over his crate at night to muffle the ambient noise, and it was the only thing that helped him settle. My son for years has slept with white noise. He's worn a sleep mask, the same principle. Too much coming in, not enough filter, until someone creates the conditions for quiet. And suddenly, finally, rest is possible. I stood in the hallway one morning with the blanket in my hands, looking at Roscoe's crate, and thought, oh, I know this. Not as a training insight, as something I had lived for 17 years. The particular quality of a nervous system that can't shut out the world, that stays alert past the point of usefulness, that needs help creating the conditions that most systems find on their own. They weren't the same, Roscoe and my son. I'm not saying that, but they were recognizably, in their different ways, built along similar lines. High sensitivity, need for routine, hyper-awareness of noise and movement, the difficulty of moving from one state to another without something to bridge the gap. I had spent 17 years learning to see my son. I hadn't yet started learning to see my dog. What I got wrong in those first months was orientation. I was oriented toward outcome, toward a dog who obeyed, who fit into the household without too much disruption. I had a picture of what I wanted Roscoe to become, and I was managing everything around producing that outcome. What I wasn't doing was asking who Roscoe actually was. That's the thing nobody tells you in the first 30 days. Not what commands to teach, not how to crate train, not which treats work best. What they don't tell you is this. The dog who arrives in your home is already someone. He came from somewhere. He has a nervous system with its own particular sensitivities, its own thresholds, its own way of processing a world that is entirely new and not yet safe. And the household he's arrived in, your household, with its particular sounds and patterns and people, is a lot of information for that nervous system to take in all at once. In the first 30 days, your job is not to train the dog. Your job is to watch the dog, to ask, who is this actually? What does he find easy? What costs him something? What does he do when something surprises him? And how long does it take him to come back? If I had known to ask those questions, I might have seen much sooner what I eventually saw. A dog who needed the same kinds of things my son needed. Not identical things, but the same category of things. Quiet, predictability, patience with the warm-up, space to engage on his own terms. They found each other eventually, my son and Roscoe. Not in the way I imagined when we brought the puppy home. In the way two beings find each other when they're given enough time and enough space, and nobody is forcing it. Slowly, on their own terms. But that's a later story. The beginning, the part I want you to hear, is this. In those first weeks, I was looking at the wrong things, and the right things were right there in front of me, waiting to be seen. That's what this season is about. Not the dramatic moments, the ordinary ones, the blanket over the crate, the warm-up that takes longer than you expected, the 4 different relationships growing quietly in the same apartment, each one real, each one its own. Next episode, I want to talk about routines, not as something you implement, but as something a family builds together, usually without realizing they're building it. What the anchors are, for your dog and for your child, who holds them in place when everything else is in flux, and what it costs everyone when they break. I'm Jennyfer Tan. This is Under the Same Roof. Understanding before strategies, always,